Hey guys, this is Yo the Hookin, and welcome to the next to the last episode on designing knit patterns. And tonight we're really diving into the nitty-gritty. And I know I said that I was going to do gauge, but I've decided to pass on that because it was just going to take way too much time. And so I ended up finding a really good video by Debbie Stoller, whose books I absolutely love, the Stitch and Bitch series. I've got six. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 out of 7 of her books. I don't have the one on knitting for guys because I'm not married, and guys are too big to knit for to me, because I like fast projects. So anyways, I've got the link down below. Watch it because it's so worth it. She has so much good information in there on the subject of gauge and stuff and showing you how to do it and what. So anyway, so there's that. And now we are going to dive in on, once we've got the gauge, what do I do with it? Okay, well, you're knitting a hat, right? Okay, so Mitzi, named after my long dead favorite cat. We're going to use her head, and she's slightly tilted, but we'll get it around there anyway. So we're going to take this around her head and get the measurement for it. Well, she's got a 20-inch head. 1.25 inches smaller than mine. Way to go, Mitz. So anyway, that's hers. And notice where I ran it. I ran this around here to get an idea, right above her ears, all the way around to the back. I didn't run it like this, down like you do when you wear down as though you were actually wearing the hat. You don't. You keep it completely level, going all the way around. Your forehead above your eyes, going straight on back. And you've got that little bumpy thing there, stay above it. Okay, so that's where you're going to go with that. So then you're going to take your measurement, write your measurement down. Mine is 21.25. And, ooh, what was that? Mine is 21.25. So I'm going to take the 21.25 and I'm going to multiply it times, I'm not going to multiply it. If you take the largest number, the actual circumference of your head, and you multiply it times the gauge, you're going to get a ridiculous number. And that hat is not going to fit very tight. It's going to be really loose. Probably fit an elephant, but it's going to be real loose. If you want a loosey-goosey hat, go for it. But if you want a semi-tight hat, just subtract one number from your actual total. So mine would be 20.25. Well, I don't like the way that hat fits. I've made them at 20.25 before, and it's like, don't like it. My best fitting hat, which is like this one here, my checkered hat, is 19.25. So for a good snug fit, a very comfortable snug fit, you're going to go 2 inches less than your actual head circumference. And then you're going to take that number and multiply it times your gauge. So I've got, what did I say? 19.25. So 19.25 times 4 stitches per inch gives me a cast on of 77 stitches. Okay, so that I'm going to put down on a draft sheet of paper, on my rough draft sheet of paper for my pattern, and put cast on 77. Okay, and then we come down to the big stuff. What if I finally decided to do the brim? Well, I'm not going to have a fold-up brim. I decided against the fold-up brim. And the reason being is because I'm going to go with a garter stitch brim. And I've never done a hat with a garter stitch brim before. And it means, because garter stitch is really stretchy, very stretchy, that to keep the garter stitch brim from being like super big and I'm going to use a needle size 2 sizes smaller than the one that we'll use for the rise of the hat, the body part here. So I'm still going to have the 77, but I'll cast the 77 on with number 7 circulars. and then, because it's going to stretch like crazy, so then the body part, when I get to the body, after I've done my inch and a half, probably an inch and a half of a brim, inch and a quarter, inch and a half of a brim, probably an inch and a half, it'll go, I'll start, when I go to do the rise, then I'll switch off and switch off to the number 9 circulars and go from there. So in my case, I'm going to have 3 different sets of needles. I'm going to have a number 7 to do the brim. I'll have the number 9 to do the rise. And then after I get so far on the crown where it's not comfortable using my circular needles, I'll switch off to number 9 DP ends, because they make a really nice crown. It's when you switch off that way. So that's how I'll be doing mine. So 3 sets of needles for me. A number 7s, number 9s, circulars, and number 9 DP ends. Okay, so I'm going to do the garter stitch rib. Now, I know what the pattern's going to be, right? So once I get to that, I've written it down that for about an inch and a half, about an inch and a half, I'll do a garter stitch. Unless I find once I get to an inch that the garter stitch is fine, or an inch and a quarter that I like it there. But remember, this is a rough draft pattern. We're not working out our final. So it'll be between an inch and a quarter and an inch and a half. So then I'll probably do a couple, 3 or 4 rows of maybe 2 to 3 rows, change that, of just brown going across. Because remember, I said I was going to use... oh, not that one. Yeah. I said I was going to use the cocoa of this. I wish this wasn't getting whited out so bad. But I'm going to use the cocoa, and I'd already started this with a garter stitch. And so then, because you can't see with the garter stitch, you can't see that next row. Oh, well, now I can see it. I'll do 2 rows of just brown, and then I'll start in working on the pattern. And we know that the pattern isn't that big. It only goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7, 8 rows. And so then from there I'll go back into nothing but brown again. Okay, so this helps with this. Now, here's a question. We're doing this in a stockinette stitch because that's the only way you can do the actual graph pattern itself. But what happens once you get above that? You can either stay with the stockinette stitch, or with the stockinette stitch, or you can go up a little bit. Oh, where'd it go? We just had it a minute ago. Or you can go up a little bit and do another garter stitch. And notice what it does to the hat when you do that. It pops out. I mean, that would probably look pretty freakish, but you could do that. I mean, just boom, boom, pop on up on that. But my 3-rib hat, because I like the way this gave it, dimensions and stuff, but, it pops it up and it would add a little more texture to it if you wanted to do it that way. So anyway, I'm just going to stay with the stockinette stitch all the way up until I get to the top, and then it's going to get a little funny. Once I get up to there, I've decided for the moment, and I could change my mind again, I've decided that for the crown, I'm probably not going to do decrease. I'm probably going to get it up to this high, and then at that point, it's just going to be a rectangle shape. I'm going to seam that together with Kitchener stitch, and then put a pom-pom on both sides. Dorky looking, indeed it is, but I just wanted to do something a bit different this time with this. So that's what I'm aiming for on this one. Just something different and weird. And if I don't like it, I don't care. I live on a farm. No one sees me. So anyway, so that's what I've decided on that. Now let's just say that we weren't going to do this pattern, okay, from the book. All right. There's something that you really need to keep in mind when you're working with a circular needle, is that unless you've got a book that shows you how to do different stitch patterns in circular knitting, well, you're going to be pretty much sticking with just stockinette stitch or garter stitch or seed stitch, something of the sort, and mixing those up on the pattern. And the reason I say that is because when you're working in stitch patterns, like if you pull down the Knit Stitch Dictionary, what you would find is that it's written for working on straight needles, so that you're doing one row this way and flip it around, and now you're working on the wrong side, you're on the right side, you're on the wrong side. Okay, yeah. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Okay, so men in tights. All right. So that's where something to keep in mind, because when you're doing circular knitting, all you're doing is knitting on the front. You're working on the right side all the time. So you can't use the stitches in there unless you do them in reverse. I read that on the internet when I was trying to do stitches out of that book, and it was like, oh man, talk about, it's worse than brain freeze. You know, I'd rather have brain freeze from an ice cream cone any day than trying to figure out how to do those buggers in reverse. So if you want to do different stitch patterns for the rise, find a Knit Stitch Dictionary for circular knitting. Boy, tonight, am I with it, right? For circular knitting. There we go. I plead the fact that I have had a stroke. I really have. So that I'm pleading that one tonight. Okay. But that's something to keep in mind. Let's see. Also, with the rise, if you want, you can still do a rib stitch straight on up. You know, there's no problems with doing a rib stitch straight on up, and some of the hats are pretty cool like that. And you can take, like, let's say like with this, I've got 3 and 3 and 3, I think I do, going across in the checkered color pattern. Now let's say I did 3 knits, and then I did a purl, and then 3 knits and a purl, 3 knits and a purl. However the math would work out for 77 stitches. You have to keep your cast on numbers in mind when you're looking at color patterns. But what if I just did it that way? Well, the purl stitch in the middle, I could just go ahead and take a crochet hook, and I could go in and I could stitch a line all the way up it. And so I could have just doing a stitch all the way up, just using my crochet hook. And I could do something interesting that way with the pattern. But you know, and you don't have to, like when you're doing your rib, if you decide you want to do a ribbed brim, you don't have to go with just the one by one, knit 1, purl 1, or knit 2, purl 2. You can do like the one I've got. Oh, right here. This is a knit 3, purl 3, and you know, mix it up, play around with it. You know, see what you think when you're making them. It's your hat. You can always rip it out and do it again. I do a ton of ripping out. So anyways, that's an idea. What I did on this one is I did a knit one. I did a reverse knit. I think it's called a reverse knit, where it makes it pop out at an angle, and then knit and purl one. I did that. That was pretty cool. But it's a twisted knit, something like that. Reverse knit or twisted knit, one of those two it's called. And that's what I did for this one, and it made a really neat brim there. And I did the same thing when I did my collared hat, wherever it sits. I would get it right now, except for, guess who's on my lap? Jeff! So, I'm sorry I exposed you, didn't I? So anyway, so there's there with that. Now, we get to the crown. Okay, once you get up to the crown, now, how do you know when to start to decrease? Well, that's when having this wonderful book, Teach Yourself Visually Knitting Design, has I wish you wouldn't do that. Okay. Well, first of all, let me backtrack here a minute now that you're totally going to be lost. On the brim, it has like for extra, I can't read that. Oh goodness, look at me. I'm old. I'm pushing 60. Can you tell? Okay, for like extra small, you would do 1 1/4 brim, 1 1/4 brim for small, 1 3/4. Looks like 1 1/2 for a medium-sized hat and 1 1/2 for a large. So okay, I am going with 1 1/2. But it helps you know what these are. For like getting this part when you're going to start shaping your crown is when you hit like if you have a small head, it's going to be once you're 8 inches. Now 8 inches is from the cast on edge, okay? Or cast on edge or the folded brim, and you're going to go to the edge here and up. Okay, so you'd go like with the folded brim here, I'd start here and I would measure up. And once if I had a small head, it would be 8 inches up. Then I would begin to do the shaping. Or you can do 9 inches up for a larger head, a medium head, and 10 inches for a large head. Personally, I like to try it on and figure out exactly where it's going to go myself. Because sometimes I don't want my hat to be slouchy, so you may want to try it on, but those are the numbers that you would use for figuring out when to begin the shaping. Now, how do you begin the shaping? If you have that book, it tells you. But we're going to do it this way. What I do is I learned this, and I wish I could remember the website it's on, and I tried to find it earlier. I spent a long time trying to find it earlier, and I couldn't find it. But what I do is I make a column. I put the cast on number up at the top, which in my case is 77. And then I go through numbers 2 through 10, and I see what divides into it. So I'll put the number 2 in the left column. Excuse me. I'll put the number 2, and then I'll put whatever that comes into. So what would be in my second column? 77 divided by 2 equals 38.5. I'm not going to use that figure, so I'm not even going to bother to write it down. 77 divided by 3 is 25.6. 77 divided by 4 is 19 1/4. Not interested. 77 divided by 5 equals 15.4. 77 divided by 6 equals 12.8. Not interested. 77 divided by 7 equals 11. Now, I now have a number 7 in one column, in the left column, and 11 in the right. Now keep that in mind. So I'm still going to go up to 10. So 77 divided by 8 is 9.62. 77 divided by 9 equals 8.5. And 77 divided by 10 is obviously 7.7. So we don't want either one of those numbers. We don't want an oddball number. We have to have an even. So the only number we have to work with now is 7 and 11. Now, I can do this. What I can do, and remember, this is my way of crown shaping, okay? My way of crown shaping. Now, I can take the 7, if I decide to do, I'm going to decrease every 7 stitches. That means I'll knit 5 stitches, decrease 2, and that's my 7. Okay? Knit 5 and knit 2 together. That would be that one. Or, and that means I'll do that 11 times going around the hat. Okay? Or I could go say, well, I would rather knit 11 instead of knitting the 7. Well, if I knit 11, what is that going to be? I'm going to knit 9 and then knit 2 together. Okay? And that'll be that for that. All right. Now, if I do that, I'm going to do that 7 times going around. Now, here's the problem. If I decide that I want to spread that out and just do it 7 times going around, every round that you do in a decrease, your next row is going to be a plain row. Okay? So it'll be, let's say you would do knit 9, knit 2 together, knit 9, knit 2 together, all the way around. Okay? You come to your stitch marker. Then what's going to happen? Okay, your next row will just be knit all the way around. No decreases, just knit all the way around. Okay, your next row, what are you going to do? You're going to knit 8, knit 2 together, and then do that all the way down. Every time you're going to subtract that number. So let me grab a piece of paper here, since I don't have anything to write on. So that would be knit 8, knit 2 together, okay? And then it would be knit, and then you do knit 7, knit 2 together, knit, knit 6, knit 2 together, then knit, knit 5, knit 2 together. And you're going to do that like that all the way down until you get to just simply knitting it. Knit 2 together all the way around. So what will happen then is, oh, lost my page. Ah, where am I? Oh, okay, there I am. Right. And hold on, I just want to finish this off because that's just the way I am. Knit, and then knit 3, knit, knit 2, knit, knit 1, knit, and then knit 2 together all the way around, and then whatever you have left, you're going to just take, cut a length, a length, right, you know what I'm talking about, and then you're going to thread it and you're going to run it through those, the stitches that are still on the needles. Pour tight. There you go. You know what to do from there. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You're going to have 18, 19. The problem with the more stitches that you do, the more you're going to have to keep going around. Okay? So if I do that one, so I do knit 9, knit 2 together, okay, 9, and then knit. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I'm going to do that and have 19 extra rows. I'll have 19 extra rows on it. Okay? Well, I don't know if I want 19 extra rows. And if I look at my hat on the rise and I count up 19 extra rows, I'll know how much further my hat's going to continue on while I'm decreasing. How is that going to fit on my head? Okay? And if it's too far, I know that I want to switch off and I want to use the knit 7. Even though it's going to put more little ridges at the top, that's fine, because I'm going to knit. The knit 7 is what? It's knit 5, knit 2 together. Now, it'll make it for a bigger spot. It's not going to pull in as close, okay, if you do with the knit 5. And then knit. And then you're going to knit 4, knit 2 together, knit 3, knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, knit 2 together. Whoop, here we go. Knit 1, knit 2 together, knit knit 2 together. Okay, so you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You'd only have 11 rows that time. So you can count up from your rise, figure out how much 11 more rows are going to go, and then put it there. Now, definitely, what are you going to have? Probably more stitches involved on your head because you haven't taken away as many, okay? Even though they're going around that much. But it's going to be shorter, not as many rows to do the crown on. So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing this, is how far is that going to go? So just look at the rise, put your hat on, look at the rise, and then measure it up that way and see just how that would possibly look, okay? And then give it a shot. But that's the way that it works. I just make 2 columns, see which numbers go into it, and from there I decide how I'm going to do, which number I'm going to choose. I write it out sometimes just so because I'm visual and I need to see it sometimes. Is it going to be that many going all over the place, or is it just going to be that? So it just depends on how fast I want to get the hat done at that point. Let's see, what did I have? Oh yeah, and don't forget, at a certain point it's going to get uncomfortable using 16-inch circulars, so switch off whenever you feel like it and divide the stitches evenly among your DPNs, and that'll, you know, have it down for you there. Let's see, make sure I haven't left anything out here, as I usually do. Okay, yeah, that's it. That's it. So that's really all there is to designing the hat. But, oh goodness, it's been 27 minutes. I'm sorry. I couldn't do it any shorter. I've been trying. So anyway, but that's the details for designing a hat. What you really go through, all the steps itself with the math and whatnot. Okay, so tomorrow, I'll do up a, I'll show you how I write it up in a spreadsheet. And the reason why you don't want to stick it in a notebook is at some point the cat may pee on it, or the cat may try to eat it. I mean, it's like stuff you would hear a grade school kid say, but it's true. If you can see it, they colored the paper with their pee. Okay, so thank you, whoever did that. Probably him. So, goodness sake. So tomorrow we'll go over that and I'll show you, because putting it on a spreadsheet, it's just safer, and having it as backed up on a little disk, whatever it is you use to back up on for an external hard drive, that's the way to go for it, because that way if something ever happens, you've always got it. And if you save it, I'm sorry, if you save it to like Evernote or something, or save it to Google Docs, then, or Dropbox, wherever, just as a place online in the cloud to be able to protect your patterns, because you really don't want to lose them. You put so much time and effort into them. So just find ways to back up your work and protect it from peeing cats. So, and belching humans. I know, Jeff. So anyway, so that's it for tonight. And if you have any questions, stick them down below. And I'm thinking about just writing up a quick cheat sheet with this, and putting it on my website or something, so you can see it and download it or something or other. Stick it in Google Docs or something. But anyways, because there is a lot to it. But like I said, if you pick up that book, I mean, that's just going to be a lifesaver for you. So anyways, before we actually hit a full half hour, I am going to, oh, yes, okay. I was going to cover this, but we've been on way too long. Tomorrow, what I want to show you is also what helps to have a style sheet so that you're consistent in your pattern writing. And I do encourage you to, I'm not a Craftsy affiliate, but it's How to Say It Pattern Writing with Edie Ekman for knitters. That course is really fantastic, and everything I use for pattern writing really comes from it, because I've just learned so much from Edie Ekman in designing and stuff, and being consistent and what have you with the patterns. So anyways, I will see you tomorrow, and I hope you have a great evening. Bye-bye.